The high-performance junior SUV is a strange old piece of fruit, but not one that's lacking in appeal. In some ways, you could argue that cars like the Hyundai Kona N and Ford Puma ST provide everything you could ever need from a vehicle under one not very low-slung roof, because they're practical, well-equipped, good to drive and fast. In the new 296 bhp 35 grand Kona N's case, very fast. But which of these cars provides the most fun overall? Which one's quickest around a track? And which do we like the most outright? The 30 grand 3-cylinder 197 bhp Puma ST, or a more potent but maybe less cuddly Hyundai Kona N? Road impressions first, let's find out. I have to say there are certain do's and don'ts with the Kona N that you really do need to be aware of. The first of which is to not go anywhere near the N mode button, because it is so stiff on the road. I'm going to go to sport, and even in sport it feels quite grainy underneath. For me it's making just a little bit too much road noise. Going back to normal. Once you have selected the right mode, it is a pretty exciting thing to drive. I mean, 8-speed dual clutch gearbox. If you find yourself on a really good road like this one, maybe you want to put it in manual and do it with the paddles. There's a little bit of torque steer for sure, but not crazy amounts. You've got 296 horsepower for 20-second bursts, so pretty much all the times that you want it when you put your foot down. I mean, it feels like a hot hatchback, this car. It feels like a sort of borderline mega hatchback in the savage way that it can just dismantle a road. That's second, third, fourth, fifth. We're not hanging about here. As soon as you start moving in the Puma ST, it's just got this lovely, smooth, calm fluidity to its ride. It's nowhere near as complicated as the Kona N in terms of settings and modes and drive programs. It really is a climb in, turn it on and start driving type of car. I like the manual gearbox. I think I prefer the paddle shifters of the Kona N, but as manual gearboxes go, this one is pretty good. There's a little bit of rubber in there, but it's pretty sharp. It's fast, and it sounds great, and it goes around corners just great. Excellent steering, excellent brakes, excellent driving position. I'm not a massive fan of the kind of Tonka toy chunky looks. Definitely think I prefer the looks of the Kona, but I really do think I prefer this one to drive on the road. Whether that's going to be the same on the track or not, I don't know. I'm pretty sure the Hyundai is going to be quicker. Whether it's going to be more fun than the Ford, I do not know. But let us go in the direction of our favourite track and find out. It's a bit of an anomaly, the Hyundai Kona N. I mean, sticking an N badge and putting all the trick diff and the 276 horsepower engine and the super stiff responsive suspension and an 8-speed dual clutch gearbox is not really the first thing that springs to mind in a kind of mini SUV. But Hyundai's imagination seems to know no limits. And basically what we are talking about here is the i30N DC2's underpinnings in the Kona N chassis. There's not a lot of difference from that anyway. I think if anything, it feels even stiffer than the i30 in this car. I've tried it in all sorts of different modes, normal mode, obviously I haven't tried it in eco mode, but definitely sport mode, and there are so many different ways in which you can customise the diff, the suspension, the gear change, everything. But I've kind of basically done a few trial laps, stuck the whole lot, everything possible in full beans, full attack mode, and although it is pretty lively,
As you can tell from me bouncing up and down like this, it's easily the quickest. It's easily the quickest setup for this car. It's maybe not the most comfortable, but gosh, it's got some grip, this thing, right? The stopwatch is starting there, into third, into fourth, really struggling to pick neat braking point into the chicane. But once you do pick one, it does stop really well. It changes direction quite nicely through here, though there's some understeer. And now it's just keep your toe in and don't try and understeer too much out onto the back grade. Right, this chicane is normally really not as much of a drama as that in most cars because of those curbs, but this thing does bounce over those curbs. It's very good through this last corner. And we come over the finish line there. Wow. It's quite busy, the Kona N, doing that kind of thing, as you can see, as you can tell from my voice, but it's also good fun. I mean, it's seriously lively. I do think it would be better if you could just calm the spring rates down a touch. I mean, this is a track. This is about as smooth a road surface as you're ever going to drive a Kona N on, and it's still doing a lot of jounce like that. And it is good fun, and it is quick. 46.9 is the time.
So with its BTCC suspension and sticky P0 tyres, the Kona set an excellent lap time. Question is, could the lighter, less powerful, more softly set up Ford get anywhere near that time on a set of equally grippy Michelin Pilot PS4 tyres?
I do like the Puma. I mean, I love the Fiesta ST, and I was slightly fearful that the Puma ST might not be anything like as good as the Fiesta ST. It's very different, but I don't think it's any worse. I think it's just as good because it's got all the same benefits, fundamental benefits of the Fiesta ST, which is this lovely, beautifully soft, but still really well controlled, really well damped suspension. Lots of feel through the steering. The torque steer is a little bit lively, even though you've only got this little 3-cylinder 1.5 turbo, which doesn't have anywhere near as much torque as the Konas, and certainly doesn't have anywhere near as much power. It's nearly 100 horsepower down, about 90 something horsepower down on the Kona. But the chassis of the Puma ST, it just breathes really nicely with the road, and it allows this car to go around this track, and it allows you to place this car just where you want it to, all the way around the lap. So although it doesn't have anywhere near as much horsepower and straight line wallop down the straights, I kind of prefer the setup of this car, and I think I prefer driving it around the track. It is not as quick as the Hyundai in terms of its gear shift, obviously, because I'm doing it rather than it being at the end of my fingertips with a super snappy dual clutch as you get in the Hyundai. And no, it's not as quick in a straight line, but I don't think it's going to be that far off in terms of lap time. Our lap starts there. See, it's soft, yes, but it's got, the front is just so good in this car, it really is. And because it takes some grass out onto the back straight, power shift, which means you don't lift off the throttle on the way up, a little bit of heel and toe, beautifully smooth and fluid across those curbs. The Hyundai feels like it wants to jump off the road through there. The back end just sways nicely to put the nose just where you want it to. And there is the lap time there. It's really quite close. 47.6. That's not a bad lap time. I love this thing around here. I love this car full stop. If it was my money, I'd definitely have the Fiesta instead because it's just that much more compact and agile, but I'm thoroughly impressed with the Puma ST. That is closer than I thought it was going to be, and miles closer than you think it should be if you look purely at the horsepower on paper. But then the Puma doesn't weigh anywhere near as much as the Hyundai. Lessons.
Okay, the Kona N was quickest, but not by anything like as much as we expected. the Ford setting a great time of 47.6 seconds. And for me, that was enough to give the overall win not to the faster Hyundai, but to the Ford, which is only a touch slower, but is, I reckon, the better car overall, with a much more chilled dynamic personality, a roomier and more practical interior, and it costs £5 less into the bargain. So there you go, shock result. The quickest car is not the best in this case. Cheers for watching, stay safe, and see you next time.